What's up, YouTube family? I'm back again, 2 in 1 day, coming to y'all with another video. And this time I'm going to go into what I think the Kenny Golladay signing means for the New York Giants and Daniel Jones and the rest of that offense. Before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that bell button so that way every time I drop a video, you all get the notifications. And if you like listening to podcasts, go ahead and subscribe to Drop Balls Podcast. It is available on every major podcast platform: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Amazon Audible. So go ahead and subscribe to that as well. I drop an episode every Tuesday. Come listen to a Fire Sports episode or Fire Sports podcast. So go ahead and subscribe, like, share, comment, all of the above. And let's get into this video, man. So the Giants went all in. They got Kenny Golladay. They signed him to a 4-year, $72 million deal, $40 million guarantee, and he can make up to $76 million under this contract. So if we're just looking at the $72 million, it averages him about $18 million a year. That puts him like 6th or 7th, I believe, on the highest paid receivers list, right above Tyreek Hill and Odell Beckham, but right behind Michael Thomas and some of the, Julio, Amari Cooper, D-Hop, and some of those other receivers. So they get a pretty solid receiver. As I've always said about Kenny Golladay, the only issue I have with him is his catching percentage. I believe over his career, over the 4 years, it's been about 58%. Last year, he only played, I want to say, like 5 games, and he caught 63% of his passes, which is fine. It's decent. But the one thing with Kenny Golladay is he's going to get you those 50-50 balls. He makes a ton of contested catches, and that's in part of him not being able to really create a lot of separation. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad receiver because of that, but just at 6'4", unless you have burning speed or like really good routes, you're not going to create a lot of separation. Same with like Mike Evans. He doesn't create a lot of separation, but he's going to get the 50-50 balls. He's going to make the contested catches. And that's the same we see with Kenny Golladay. And so now this adds another dynamic to that offense that they didn't particularly have. They have Darius Slayton, they have Sterling Shepard. Both of them are above 6 feet, I believe. I believe Sterling Shepard is like 6'1" or 6 foot even. And then the same with Darius Slayton. Now with Darius Slayton, though, Slayton ran a 4.3 40, so he can stretch the field. Sterling Shepard, I believe he ran a 4.4. Yeah, he ran a 4.4 840. And so you have those two receivers that can stretch the field. You got Kenny Golladay, who can also go up for it. And then you have they add John Ross to that fold, who ran a 4.22. Now the only thing with John Ross is he can't stay healthy. So if he can stay healthy and put together a complete season, then that offense looks pretty scary. Because not only that, they also have Evan Ingram, who I know a lot of people don't like because of his inconsistency. But when he is at the top of his game, Evan Ingram can definitely be one of the top tight ends in the NFL. He's kind of like that. He's a receiver turned tight end, essentially. I mean, that's not necessarily what happened, but just when I think about the type of player and skill set he has, he's a receiver turned tight end. He can run routes. He's fast. It's just his catching consistency. That's an issue for Evan Ingram. Sometimes he goes out there and he makes these spectacular catches, and then he drops the easy catches, like the ones that just hit his hand. Nobody's around him, and he drops those. And so, if the whole offense can put it together, Kenny Golladay, John Ross, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, and Sterling Shepard, that offense is going to be scary. Now, you also have to have Daniel Jones being able to deliver the ball to those receivers. Now, this, in my opinion, is like a push for the New York Giants to make sure Daniel Jones progresses correctly. Now, one of the biggest knocks I have on Daniel Jones is that he turns over the ball entirely too much. And it may not be interceptions. I mean, although I believe over his career, and I'm looking up the stats right now, but over his career, he does have 22 interceptions and 35 touchdowns. But my biggest issue with him is protecting the ball while he's in the pocket. He has 29 fumbles. Last season he had 11. The year before his first year in the league, he had 18. Now, although that number has gotten better because it's dropped 7. So although it's gotten better, that's an issue that I believe needs to be corrected. He has to protect the ball in the pocket, and this goes along with them also getting him a better offensive line. Last year, I believe he was sacked 45 times. That's 5 behind Carson Wentz, who was only sacked 50. Well, not only, but who was sacked 50 times. But the thing is, Daniel Jones only played 14 games last year. So he was sacked 45 times in 14 games. That's not good. Now, some of that may be his fault for holding on to the ball too long. And not being able to make those decisions quickly. And some of it is also offensive line's fault, where the offensive line is getting beat off the ball and the defense is getting to Daniel Jones. So I think one of those things is that the Giants have to address offensive line at some point during this offseason or in free agency. I'm not sure actually who they have signed all free agency. I just know the Kenny Golladay was the big one just because everybody was anticipating. He was the best receiver in this free agency class, in my opinion. Juju was there, but people know how I feel about Juju, Mr. Corvette. But Kenny Golladay was the best receiver, in my opinion, that was in the draft or in the free agency this year. And so that was the biggest signing that I've seen that the Giants made. Now, also, they still have Saquon Barkley. Saquon will be coming back from an ACL injury that kept him out pretty much all of last year. And now, depending on how he comes back, now I don't believe ACL is a hindrance. I don't think that'll be a hindrance for a lot of players. Now, we saw Todd Gurley and we saw what happened with him and how he has now arthritis in his knee, and they have to nurse that to continue to continue to get him playing. So sometimes he rests some games. Sometimes it's a workload issue where they take off the workload from him some games. So if Saquon comes back more like Adrian Peterson versus Todd Gurley, I think the NFC East is in trouble. And that goes for the Washington football team, Dallas Cowboys, and especially the Philadelphia Eagles. So because that offense looks on paper to be very potent. It's kind of like what we thought about Dallas's offense when they got CeeDee Lamb, they got Michael Gallup, they got Amari Cooper, and they got Ezekiel Elliott back there. It's like, okay, this offense looks very potent. It could break a game open. And that's what I see in Dallas, or not Dallas. That's what I see in New York's offense, the Giants' offense, when they add a player like Kenny Golladay. Like I said, he's going to get the 50-50 balls. He's a great red zone target because he's so big. You can't coach height. Now, he ran a 4.5 40, so he doesn't have the burning speed like Darius Slayton or John Ross, who can stretch the field. Him and Sterling Shepard are more in the same realm of speed. And I want to make sure I get the heights right, because I don't want to be off on the players' heights. Like I said, Darius Slayton, he's 6'1". Sterling Shepard is give me a second, y'all. Sterling Shepard's 5'10", so he's not even 6 feet. Sterling Shepard's 5'10". John Ross, I believe, is like 4'9" or something like that. Or not 4'9", my bad. He's 5'9" or something like that. Or maybe 5'10". So Sterling Shepard doesn't have the burners like John Ross and Darius Slayton. But Sterling Shepard, he's been a solid receiver for the New York Giants ever since they drafted him. But like I said, this is a year where they're pushing Daniel Jones to progress. He has to show some signs of progression. He played 14 games last year, and he had less passing yards than he did his first year in the league. Last year, Daniel Jones had only 2,943 passing yards. His first year playing less games than 2020. So 2019, he only played 13 games. 2020, he played 14. So at least he's making progression there on how many games he's playing. Now, he did play hurt last year because he did have a hamstring injury. But 2019, he had 3,027 yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So that year was a lot better than the year that we saw from him in 2020. And I think the 2013 or the 2019 season was because I believe Eli was still on the team, and and Eli played 13 games or something like that, and then they set him down and started Daniel Jones. So that could be the reason why. So actually, he didn't really progress in that aspect. But he played 14 games this year, and he is also a threat to run the ball. I mean, we underestimate his ability to actually break the pocket and run. Last year we saw I think it was against the Eagles, where he broke. I mean, it would have been a touchdown. It would have been probably like a 90-yard touchdown had he not tripped at like the 10-yard line and fell face first into the turf monster got him. But I mean, he has that ability to break the pocket and get some yards with his feet. I think he has, pretty good arm talent. So he can get it to the receivers. He'll get the ball to the receivers. So I think he has arm talent there. I think accuracy is good. I mean, there's a reason he has the name Danny Dimes. I believe his accuracy is pretty good. It's just, like I said, protecting the ball. That's my biggest thing. And I don't know if it's because of, him not being able to, if he knows how to read coverage. I don't know. I don't know those things. If he knows how to read the coverage, if he knows ball placement. I mean, accuracy is one thing, but ball placement where only your receivers can get the ball. The DB can't. I mean, with ball accuracy, the DB can still make a play on the ball. But if you have perfect ball placement, because I think those two things are different. When you have perfect ball placement where only your receiver is going to get it, then I think that's where it would separate him from, some of the lower tier quarterbacks. And I think this year we're going to see a different Daniel Jones than we've seen in the previous 2 years. And I hope he comes out and he's protecting the ball. I believe he will protect the ball a lot more this year. And he has weapons now. So there's no excuses for him. He has weapons. You got to go out there and perform. But like I said, on paper, this offense looks pretty potent. And as long as everybody can come together and they have the offseason, they have training camp, and as long as they can get it together and get that chemistry in training camp, look out for the New York Giants. That's all I'm going to say. I like the signing. I think it makes their offense a lot better with that signing and regaining Saquon Barkley. And we'll see what happens. But anyway, you guys, that's all I have for you all. So be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all of the above. And, until next time, peace.